I think this weekend proves definitively that there's just too much gamers out in the market right now to be bullied by non-gamers and what they want to see in the gaming industry. And what I'm talking about is what we've been seeing these past few weeks in the industry itself when it comes to the releases that are coming out right now and what gamers are flocking to and buying. They're buying games made for them. And I think that's what we're seeing with success stories like Claire Obscure that just came out from an indie developer, and of course from bigger developers like Bethesda that just released out of nowhere Oblivion Remaster Elder Scrolls 4, which came out of nowhere and is dominating the market with its unique design of the remaster of a classic game. And this is just showing that gamers are going to flock to you if you're making something in line with the classics that they have played before, or you're making something fresh and new and dedicated to the response and likings of the gamer player base.
Okay, before we let Wagner know why continue. See, here's the thing. Whether it's remastered or new game, one thing that these companies learned is that if you make a good game, make sure everything is polished, no bugs, no issues, making sure that it is at least playable. Of course, multiplayer, because sometimes cheaters can get their way, which that's besides the point. But if you make a good game, gamers will flock to you. I'll touch on characters soon. But regardless what character it is, gameplay and story must take center stage. Most importantly, gameplay. If you sacrifice those, then your game will flop easily.
We're seeing from Bethesda, and that's what we're seeing from Sandfall Interactive with the release of Claire Obscure Expedition 33, which is a little known game that came out of nowhere but grabbed the attention of gamers in such a way where it's not being overshadowed by the Goliath of Oblivion. And Oblivion is taking up so much space that is sucking the air out of the room with some of the Steam numbers that are coming out. Over 205,000 people playing this in-game just on Steam, not including on PS5, not including on the Xbox or any other platform. No, just on Steam. This is probably resembling the millions of players that are playing all across all platforms right now. It's just showing that the gaming industry has a response to good games, which we have been seeing only coming out from the East, but right now we're seeing some games come out from the West that are proving that this industry is not in a deep, desperate, dark state that we've been told from a lot of Western gaming industry social media journalists who are saying it's hard to sell games in the West right now, when in actuality, if you make a game for gamers, people are going to go out and play. And that's what we're seeing with new titles like Claire Obscure, coming from a small independent studio of over 35 people, producing a product of such a high standard that it's flat out beating out AAA developers that have come out with $200 million games that have outright bombed within the gaming industry.
Okay, before we let him continue, I'd like to ask all of you, if any of you have played either Claire Obscure Expedition 33, or in this case, Oblivion Remastered, I would like to ask you one question. What was your experience? Was there any bugs, glitches, or any performance issues? And are you loving it? Answer all that in the comments. You see, here's my theory. Before I touch on the indie side, many developers now, there'll be some developers who are still asleep, but many developers have seen the success of Black Myth Wukong. Black Myth Wukong woken up a lot of people. That is only on terms of single player. When Marvel Rivals came, it also woken up more and more people. It makes them on the debate because they don't know which will be successful, whether it's single player or live service. It's going to be hand-to-hand. Black Myth Wukong shows everybody single player, yes, even though live service is still the norm by most people. However, the examples for both Black Myth Wukong and Marvel Rivals showcase that if you make a good game, listen to your customer, give the players better than the games they hated. Okay, let's take for example Overwatch 2. Marvel Rivals give players not just a hero shooter, but Marvel heroes. What are the chances that all those Overwatch players, well, majority of them, are comic book fans?
Few years, and you can see with this sort of developer, which probably spent less than $50 million on this game, I'll probably say even less than that, and it's bringing in results of a AAA property where it has Steam numbers over 89,000 players playing this game, and I think I just saw it nearing 100,000 players with 98,000 players playing this over the weekend. And I think it's probably going to increase steadily these next few weeks because people haven't really known anything about this game. We just know a little bit from the trailer stories that we have been seeing, but buzz is growing, and this is just showing that if you make a game, gamers are going to flock to it. And I think we've been seeing that consistently over the years with a lot of indie titles that have come out these past few months. Just with Schedule 1 took over the industry for a few weeks and still hasn't captured with its overall gameplay and flow and experience for the gamers. And I think that is reflective of what we see in the industry. This game has over 400,000 people playing that game at its peak, and it's just showing that the industry, if you produce content for game players are going to go to it. And I think the problem that we've been seeing in the industry today is that they have been trying to produce games for people that are non-gamers, the modern audience that we often hear so much about. And the thing about the modern audience, they do play games. They mostly play mobile games. And I think that is the essential thing we're seeing right now.
Before we get to that, take a look at this. Read this. I want you to pause this video, read it, and think about it for a second. Usually, indie doesn't exactly have an ESG score, so they are independent on what they do, depending on the developer at least, but that's besides the point. I mean, 35 people developing Clair Obscured, that's impressive. Lost Soul aside, which I think is about 40 people, according to what I've heard. Their main developer, one of the main developers, they said that they created a game on its own, or he created a game on its own. Impressive, isn't it? Despite the industry shift, there will be some people who are still will not accept this. And there are some people who are still asleep. I think we need to convince those people, those developers who are still refusing, or perhaps many developers in these AAA companies, they are being handcuffed. They're being shackled because if they say something their CEO doesn't like, they'll be fired, blacklisted, and they'll have a hard time getting a job. They have no other choice. They have to listen. So I think the first thing is to get rid of all of the activists. Yes, all of them.
I think that is the essential thing we're seeing right now with a lot of developers in the industry. They're chasing after an audience of people that is large, diverse, and actually reflective of their personal ideals of what the gaming environment should be made up of. They don't want to see only white, Asian males playing video games, or even, for that matter, even black males. They want to see a diverse palette of people of all race, genders, playing gaming, because they want that influence that comes from these parties reflected within the video gaming industry itself. And that's why I say gamers are bullying that part of the gaming industry almost out of the market right now. And you can see that even with the modding community around Oblivion, with Nexus Mods, which is known for banning any mod that is against their personal ideology when it comes to progressive values, specifically male, female, body type mods that replace the body type 1 and 2 aesthetic that we see kind of forced within a lot of games because they want to follow this sweet baby ink logic of sticking to these progressive ideals when it comes to body positivity, when it comes to LGBTQ identitarianism, where you're just focused on the identity that people want to see for themselves and regardless of what it is biologically. And that's why we have body type 1 and 2 in the Oblivion remaster, which angered a lot of people, so much so that they wanted to add a mod within the game itself that removed this selection. And I think that's probably the only worst thing about the Oblivion game, is that it includes this sort of progressive philosophy fully on display that is counterintuitive to the overall game itself. So of course, people made a mod, brought back the male-female gender option, and it angered the people on Nexus Mod, which led to a complete outright banning of the mod.
Good thing the ad managed to stop it. Regardless if Nexus Mod's probably going to deny this, not gonna happen. This is proof that Nexus Mod is a left-leaning. Despite they claim they aren't or have no issues of political bias, this is proof of it. So, to any of you, if you want to get into mods, don't use Nexus Mod, okay? Use any mods besides Nexus Mods, okay? So, I think, or perhaps you can do like I did. If you're playing a game Let's Play or anything, you can make this. While you're making character creation, while you edit, replace that Type 1, Type 2 to male and female during editing. Yeah, it's not practical, but hey, you can easily do that without even relying on mods.
So much people complain that they force Nexus Mod to bring that mod back, something they never really have done before. And you know, there's a history of banning male-female mods for a lot of properties on Nexus Mods. And I think that's the thing that we keep seeing over time, that they ban it for so much other properties that have come out in the past, and now they're reversing course on this ideal, and it's showing that there are cracks in the system right now where a lot of people are realizing, okay, the majority of people don't agree with this, and most gamers hate that we're doing this, and we're actually losing company profit and value over this decision. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with a lot of properties right now that is quickly shifting from this idealism of focusing on their personal politics rather than putting out quality content. And I think that's why we have another example of a developer like CI Games and their game Lords of the Fallen, which came out with a 2.0 update that increased global sales to all-time highs because of the changing of this small, insignificant thing. When it comes to body type 1 and 2, they switched it back to male, female, listen to the gamers, and they added a lot of improvements to the game itself that attracted so much people because of the goodwill they said by actually asking what the gamers want to see in their game. And now we have a game that was kind of just in the doldrums and almost dead, revived back, reaching over 10,000 players when it was just barely in the single digits. And I think that is just reflective of the gamers responding to actually people that listen to them.
Okay, before we get into this one, you see, here's the thing. This is actually a weakness to all these woke consultancy firms. They knew if the industry is listening to gamers, the woke consultancy firms such as Sweet Baby Inc., they will lose their job. Regardless of who you are, there's always a weakness. Everyone has a weakness. Even Sweet Baby Inc., they have a weakness. They can't just deny it. This is their weakness. Game industry is now listening to gamers. That's the weakness. Okay, we're gonna react to at least 2 more. I'll give my full takes afterwards.
There are too much gamers out there for the activist class right now. And the activist class that I'm talking about the Sweet Baby Incs., where they've been using their bully pressure to actually impose their will within the gaming industry, having demands met by constantly annoying and actively pursuing different subjects within developers to actually adhere to their narrative demands. When it comes to diversity elements, when it becomes the gendered LGBTQ elements, they force these idealisms into the gaming industry by attacking these gaming developers through journalism, where they have hit pieces laid out against you consistently over at the Kotakus, the gamers, the IGNs. Allegedly they have all these connections to attack you and downgrade your game. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with a lot of the people within the industry, like the Sweet Baby Incs. They're seeing their influence wane and die down because it doesn't lead to success. And we saw that happen with titles that have come out from Ubisoft directly, where they followed the Sweet Baby Inc. guide. Heck, the person that started Sweet Baby Inc., Kim Belair, is from Ubisoft, and all the games that have followed behind her and the connections related to her within Ubisoft, we have seen nothing but failures from this company, a quadruple A company producing content that can't even match an indie developer of ex-Ubisoft devs that focused only on gameplay. It's just showing that there's a change and shift happening out there, and it's because there's just way too much gamers out there. And you don't have to look farther than the East to realize that, when you know all the biggest games out East have dominated the market because there's a large gamer player base there that refuse to play the games that are built for the modern audience. They're there to play good games, and that's why we see Monster Hunter Wilds. That's why we see Black Myth Wukong, Mecha Break, all these other titles succeed where a lot of Western gaming entities absolutely fail. And I think that's a situation we're seeing now develop right now, where there's just way too much gamers wanting good games. And you see that reflected in some of these elections and overall polls that a lot of developers do, where Capcom did a poll, what is the makeup of the gaming population of the people that play their games? And it's almost 85% male game players. And more than anything, the things that they want from their games is exhilarating gameplay, unique and attractive characters, and of course exciting storylines. And none of these things include racial, gender issues that have been at the focus of a lot of these political entities like Sweet Baby Inc., who want to burn down the gaming industry to be reflective of their progressive politics, when that in actuality contributes nothing to a successful studio. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with a lot of developers. They're realizing, okay, we gotta actually please the gamer player base, and that's how we're gonna make money. And that's why we're seeing Oblivion come out of nowhere. That's why we're seeing these other developers producing content made for gamers and done for the success of their companies. And I think we're gonna see more properties happen like this because gamers are the majority. It sounds stupid to say that when you're in the gaming industry, but for a while right now, they haven't been the focus for a lot of developers. I think this reflexive change that we're seeing with a lot of these companies seeing success by listening to gamers is going to lead to a change that will increase this ideology that maybe you just make game for gamers and not an activist class of people that just won't even play games.
Okay, I'll leave the full video link in the description. That is true. All that is true. Black Myth Wukong, like I said, it really opened the door. It forced everybody to come to the realization that if you don't attack gamers, you make a good game, gamers will flock to you. And don't listen to consultancy firms or journalists. I think many of these developers who are still refusing to listen to gamers because they're afraid of the critics. Remember what Squidward always says, everyone's a critic. Many of these developers who are still using Sweet Baby Inc. or any consultancy firm, WoW or anything, including Directive 8020, which have partners with Outmaking Games, OMG, don't forget that. If you wish to know who that is actually the same company who censored GTA 5 Enhanced Edition. I don't know if Supermassive Games knows about it, I need to recheck. Hopefully they didn't discard that partner, but I will check. If it's still there, that means, well, it proves that Directive 8020 has partners with Outmaking Games who censored GTA 5. And I'm pretty much certain that Directive 8020 has some reference to Donald Trump. I'm not gonna say Directive 8020 is cooked yet until we see more information. With the East is dominating, and now Indie and AA is also coming, the Western AAA is going to be swept aside or shoved to the side. And when they fail, the Western AAA can only blame themselves. To the Indie, AA, and even Eastern developers, continue your work. Keep making games for gamers. Don't listen to any woke idiots or even woke journalists such as IGN Rebecca Valentine or Stacey Henley. Don't listen to them. Make good games, and gamers will continue to support you whatever it takes.
Back where I belong.
Down to 30 seconds.
Good night. Hit the gas, Zero. Time's burning out.
Another epic victory. Big win.
Leave a like and subscribe if you want woke or anti-woke detected, or you just want to see me play games, or perhaps you like trending topics. Visit my second, third, and fourth channel up here or link in the description.